Hello, here is Zion Builder, where we, simply put, try to help build up the new Zion. I wanted to talk at you about something everyone seems to want. Maybe we don't always admit it, but we seem to be hardwired for it, and we devote our lives, as well as all sorts of movies and books, to it. However, its reputation doesn't even do it justice, for it is greater than any of us give it credit for. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm talking about love. Love seems to be a very misunderstood concept in today's day and age. We tend to view it as fluffy and sappy and romantic. It's considered exclusively to be feelings between two individuals. However, the Christian view of love shares little in common with this idea. Instead of being exclusively between two people, or a select number of them, love is to be shared with all people. Jesus famously demanded his followers to love even their enemies. And instead of being feelings, love is considered an action that one chooses to embrace, most easily as a gift of the Holy Spirit. And perhaps most notable of all, love is not something you fall into. It is something that will often be very difficult and can seem costly. Love is the complete giving of oneself to another person. It is valuing them and their good above your own. Now, if you've ever been to a Christian wedding, chances are you've heard St. Paul's very apt description of love that he gave to the Corinthians. St. Paul provides a list of attributes that he calls love equivalent to. You have patience, kindness, endurance, belief, rejoicing in the truth, and so forth. He also makes note of what love is not. It's not envious or boastful, arrogant, resentful, or any of those. Love also does not insist on its own way. Now, both sets seem to fit, or at least not contradict, the definition I brought up of giving yourself to another person or people. Understanding the Christian idea of love is vital because in that same letter, St. Paul talks about love as the chief gift we can have. He claims that without love, we have nothing. Our wisdom, our skills, our talents, and even our faith are all worthless if we do not have love to accompany and guide them. So, why would St. Paul make such a bold claim? The faith to move mountains is nothing without love to him. He views understanding the entirety of the cosmos as meaning nothing without it. Sure, that's nice to hear in a romantic greeting card, but this is biblical. This inspired text is part of Christian theological foundation. How could love be of such import? Well, because God is love, and He created us to love Him and to love each other. Recall Jesus' two greatest commandments. And when we are focused on love of God and neighbor, our faith and intelligence will be pointed in the right direction. Our knowledge, for example, will never insult human dignity with immoral research, or damage our brothers and sisters with the misuse of technology. Instead, our knowledge will aid them and build up the kingdom, alleviate pain, and guide all of us to God. Charity without love may have a limited amount of use, but it will weigh on the giver and be used to exploit the receiver or the bystanders through guilt. And in terms of spiritual growth, it's completely useless to the initial giver. Even faith in God without love is shallow. It lacks a true understanding of God and the closeness to Him that He's looking for. He's not looking for just servants, but for sons and daughters. So, love is important. It colors everything we do. Is that the extent of its purpose? Well, if simply guiding you to God in an even more profound way than faith or charity do is not enough of a reason to seek to be loving, then perhaps you need to reevaluate your priorities. However, there is something love can do better than conventional wisdom would suggest, as taught by God in the paradox of the cross. Love can overcome evil. In fact, love can demolish evil. As Father Barron points out, in Jesus' day, peace was considered only coming about as the end result of violence. Actually, we can see this still happening today overseas. The strong enforce their will until someone stronger kicks them out. Then, there may be peace for a time until the cycle repeats. Jesus has done something different. He allows the violence and the evil of the world to come to Him, and instead of responding with evil, thus perpetuating the problem, He dies with it. He is then resurrected in a perfect body that will never die, and evil has lost its power over Him. Jesus has the last laugh, so to speak. Similarly, we cannot fight evil on its own terms, or it is already won. But if we strive to love our attackers and give our lives over in love for them and God, we will be justified. Quite often our victory will be invisible to the secular world, but, as St. Paul says, We are fighting against powers and principalities, also known as angels. For those paying attention, it should be clear that love is difficult. Giving our lives over to those who would seek to harm us is a heavy task to bear. Even just giving ourselves over to our family and friends when they get annoying or needy can certainly weigh on a person. We have to learn to constantly step back and consider if it's more loving to yell at the person or ask to continue the argument after cooling down. We have to learn to take a breath and be gracious even when being asked a favor after a long day. Now, there are ways to make such things easier, such as constantly considering what you're grateful for, even in something that looks bad at first glance, and always, always, always being in a state of prayer with God, asking for the gifts of the Holy Spirit. And if choosing to love wasn't difficult enough, the Christian is asked to love all people unconditionally. Now, sometimes strangers can be easy to love since they don't ask much of our time or very often. And though they can be tough to love at times, family and friends can also be easy to love because of the connection we share with them. However, it's almost always difficult to love those who have truly wronged us, people with whom we are just in our displeasure with, people who have insulted or betrayed us, or worse. And they are the most important to love. As Jesus says, if you love only your friends, you have done nothing unusual. So, why is that important? St. Paul points out that God loved us even while we were still sinners. If we truly love God, we will strive to be like Him as much as possible. If He can love people who regularly hurt and betray Him, then loving our enemies is a chance to show God that we truly love God and we truly want to be just like Him. God also loves our enemies Himself, and so loving a third party with Him is extremely beneficial for getting close to Him. So, love is difficult. Love is all-encompassing. Love is powerful. But most importantly, God is love. So giving ourselves in love to God and our neighbors brings us closer to our Creator, and there is nothing more important to our lives than that. Let faith, hope, and love endure among you, remembering that the greatest of these is love. And until next time, God bless and good luck.